Finally, Wolves sack Vitor Pereira. Now, after what was quite frankly a disgraceful start to the season and quite frankly a disgraceful performance yesterday against Fulham, I think it's about time. And to be honest, I'd argue it's 3 or 4 weeks too late, to be honest. Obviously, Sean Dyche and Nuno Espirito Santo, two managers in which I believe would have kept Wolves up, are now off the market. And ultimately, they were available just a few weeks ago. So have Wolves missed the boat there? Yes, they massively have. Do they need to sack Vitor Pereira? Yes. Did they need to sack him now? They absolutely had to after yesterday. Now, the lineup, it was essentially suicide. It felt like he was essentially trying to just get sacked and get a payout. Now, we'll obviously know more details as they come throughout the day. So this video is very reactionary. It is just as the news has broken. So we will know more details soon on the payout, the contract terms, stuff like that. We probably will find that out. But he has finally been sacked. Now, is this a positive thing? Of course it is. Is it a negative thing? Potentially, because as I say, the manager market really isn't that good, and I will be doing a video as Wolves are linked to different managers throughout the next week or so, speaking about who I think they should get in, why I think they could be a good fit, etc. But I've also done a video like that on this channel as well. Now, as you will all know, I had my doubts initially when Vitor Pereira came in. Now, of course, he was brought in to do a job and he did it. However, I personally strongly believe, and this is going to seem perhaps controversial, but I strongly believe that Wolves and more clubs need to be more ruthless. They need to have said to Vitor Pereira, look, your job's to keep us up. Now, let's be honest, you're not going to take us to that new level. We don't think you will. Let's get rid of you at the end of the season and bring in someone else. And they could have done that, and that may seem controversial, but that's what I personally would have done, given the fact that, let's be honest, at every other club he's been at, he's lasted around 2 or 3 years maximum. He's really overstayed his welcome at some clubs, and let's be honest, I think he's overstayed his welcome here by some games. Now, I just find it absolutely insane, to be quite honest, that he wasn't let go of last week after the Burnley game. I think they've acted a bit too late, to be honest. Now, Burnley, on paper, as I said at the time, is the easiest fixture in the calendar. Whether people like that or not, it is by far the easiest fixture in the calendar. You cannot concede 6 goals at home to the likes of Leeds and Burnley and be winless after 10 games. Now, being winless after 10 games is very interesting because this was the case last season. Now, Wolves are the first team in Premier League history to be winless after 10 games, 2 seasons in a row. And if Wolves do manage to stay up this season, what an unbelievable achievement that would be. Do I think it's likely? No. Do I think it's going to take a hell of a lot? Yes. Do I think there's positives? Absolutely. So let's just quickly discuss them. So in terms of the side, don't get me wrong, there is a lack of quality, and I think it has to be addressed in January regardless. But if you look at some of the key players in the spine of this team, there are players that we know can do a lot. Tolu's looked really good when he's played, and I think a new manager will get the best out of him. Strand Larson, we know, is a good footballer, whether people like it or not, and people are frustrated with him or not. He will be absolutely fine under a new manager. I am pretty convinced of that. And then you look at the midfield again. I mean, the Andre and Joao Gomez decisions from yesterday are quite frankly criminal. But again, 2 really, really good players that should be starting week in, week out for another manager. Perhaps we'll see less of Marshall Monetzi now as well, given the fact that Vitor Pereira has gone, given his passionate love for Marshall Monetzi, it seems like. And then in defence, Krejci is one of them for me. Again, I think no matter who comes in, I think he will be reliable. I think he's been really, really steady and really, quite frankly, good, given him, what is probably the hardest situation you could have come into as a player of Krejci's sort of quality, really, and a player that plays where he does, given the fact he's had to play in midfield. He's played in midfield against Newcastle. He's played in midfield yesterday as well, and it's such a mad thing for him. So I think there is a positive outlook on it. There is a lot of players there that I do think are good. I do think there's a lack of quality in other areas. Maybe we'll see more use of Fer Lopez under a new manager. Maybe Jean Arias will actually look like he can kick a football under a new manager, which yet, remains to be seen. But Jean Arias, for me, he's shown it in moments. Has he done it anywhere near consistently enough? No. Does he have the ability to? I think so. Will he do it? Who knows? It is an exciting time. Now, that may sound mental, given the fact that Wolves are winless after 10 games. They're 9 points behind the likes of Fulham, 8 points behind Burnley, for example. But it is an exciting time now. It's mental that it's taken 10 games for the season to start. But I do think this is where Wolves season starts and needs to start, quite frankly. They have an absolutely massive job on their hands, given the fact that last year, let's be honest, none of the promoted teams were anywhere near good enough. They were always going to go down, and This season, that couldn't be further from the case. I think Burnley will go down, as I've said numerous times, and I think Leeds will go down, but that final spot is up for grabs, and I do think Wolves do have a chance. That's why I'm not completely willing to say they're down, now the fact that he is sacked. Now, it's not all, sunshines and rainbows. It's obviously not, given the fact that Fosun is still there, Jeff Shee's still there. The ownership and nothing around the ownership will change now. It's the only way it will change at the end of the season if Wolves are relegated. Of course, they will leave. They will sell up. I guarantee it. But as it stands, they are still in charge. Now, do you back them to back the next manager properly and give him a window where he can actually bring in quality? No. Does the next manager need that? Yes. Now, the likes of Ardy Hooter, someone for me that I think would be absolutely brilliant as a manager for Wolves, would play a really good system and a really good style of football for Wolverhampton Wanderers, would be great. But he's going to want money to spend and going to need money to spend. And I think a lot of those managers will. Now, you look at the manager market, who's going to want to come to a team that's sat so far adrift at the bottom of the league with issues going on in the stands, with issues going on in the background of the club, with issues pretty public on the pitch, managers falling out with the previous players as it looked like yesterday. I mean, it's abysmal. But I do think a new manager could really reinvigorate this club, this fan base, the atmosphere in the stadium. Because let's be honest, the fans yesterday were absolutely brilliant. The away ends have been top this season from Wolves, and they always are. But at home, it's been a toxic atmosphere. And I'm not saying that's right or wrong. I personally think it's correct, actually. I would probably go as far to say it's correct. I think every bit of anger Wolves fans have got, they absolutely have every right to feel it. And I do think with the ownership, it may paper over the cracks, and people may think if Wolves do stay up this season and look good for the rest of the season under a new manager, they may think, oh, Wolves are back. But ultimately, the owners and the chairman, Jeff Shee, are still there, and they're going to be there. They're not going to sell up, and especially not going to sell up with John Textor being around, because that would be like going out of the frying pan and being thrown straight into flames. It is just absolutely ridiculous. But let's stop going on a tangent now. In terms of Wolves as a club, I think they can stay up. I think it's highly improbable. I think they've got a chance though. I think that's the small crumb of hope that Wolves fans need to hang on to, and you all need to hang on to, is the fact that it's not completely over. They've acted, slowly again. Let's be honest, and it was a window which more embarrassingly again from Jeff Shee, he said he was more than happy with. He thought it was a good window, which, I mean, I think Jeff Shee needs to stop speaking in the media, to be honest, because he embarrasses himself every single time. He embarrasses the club and he embarrasses the fan base. But he said it was a good window. And he also said that they, admitted that they sacked Gary O'Neill too late last year. So he better come out very soon if he is going to start speaking in the media again. And he needs to come out and admit that they've sacked Vitor Pereira far too late, because he shouldn't have been given the Fulham game. That is, I mean, it's beyond me. The Fulham game he should not have had in the first place. He shouldn't have had the Chelsea game. But, it is what it is. Now, the payout's going to be interesting, and that's the thing I'm really intrigued to see, because most people felt like he was just sort of playing that lineup yesterday to get sacked, and I did feel that as well, to be honest. Now, I didn't react to the game yesterday because, quite frankly, it was disgusting. The performance was disgusting. The fans were absolutely brilliant. They did not deserve that yesterday, going to London, which, let's be honest, isn't a cheap away day at all, to go and watch that absolute shower of God knows what. But my word, is there a slight bit of hope now with Vitor Pereira gone? The owners need to spend their money. They need to get the money out in January. They need to bring real quality in, because look at some of the signings they brought in. Now, yes, they may be good for a certain level, and I was, trying to be optimistic throughout the summer that they were going to be good for Wolves. Ultimately, most of them haven't been. Muller-Wolf was the most bemusing one. Obviously, does really well against Chelsea, and we haven't seen him really before or since then. But I do think they need real quality. It's not about, signing cheap. It's about signing good. Now, you look at the players that Vitor Pereira rejected in the summer. Kyle Walker-Peters walks into this side, which is what I suggested in the summer and got laughed at, by the way. Harry Wilson walks into this side, as we saw yesterday. He absolutely improves that attack. Some of the players that they've been linked to, I mean, they absolutely do improve this side, and they would have improved this side. So Wolves need to go out in January, back this next manager as much as they possibly can. Because if they can back this manager and they can get it right, and Fosun can stop being as tight as they are, then I'll tell you something, Wolves will stay up this season. They will stay up, and there is a slight tinge of hope in there for all of you Wolves fans that are seeing this news this morning. I think it is a massive ask. I want to make that abundantly clear. It's a huge, huge ask. But there is a slight crumb of hope, and I do think that if they get it right with the right manager, and that is a massive if again, by the way, as I've said, the manager market is very dire at the moment, but if they can get it right, there are a lot of positives to come, hopefully, this season. And we've seen that there is enough quality within the spine of the squad that just needs to be more littered in and around it. And we need to see new football, more exciting football, more attacking football, less bloody shaky defensive football. There is a lot that needs to be done. It's a massive job for whoever comes in. But if they can get it right, it will be brilliant. It'll be absolutely brilliant to see, and I really do hope they can. Now, if you did enjoy this video, I hope you're feeling a bit more positive today after what you've had to endure yesterday, to be honest. But I hope you are feeling a bit more positive having seen the news about Vitor Pereira being sacked this morning. Thank you all for watching this video. There's 67% of you who watch these videos who aren't subscribed. So if you aren't subscribed, I'd really appreciate it if you could subscribe to the channel. It is free, and I'm about 10 subscribers away from 2,500, so that would mean the absolute world to me. Thank you all for watching. I really do appreciate you all. Thank you all for watching, as I've said again, and I'll see you all in the next one.